Lil, it's hard to believe we're doing the November show already, eh? Like another year just it comes and goes so quickly.
It does.
I wanted to ask you about today if you're comfortable with this conversation and let me know, please. Um, one of the things I've been seeing in society that really bothers me is the difference of opinion in families and how it's sort of tearing things, political stuff, that may be going on in any country right now, it seems, tears families apart. And I wrote a piece that's going to be out in the November Hub. And my whole point of it at the end of it was, why are we letting third parties dictate to us who should be our friends and our family? Because that is what's doing it. It's that third party that we need to be very consciously aware of. The other aspect of that I saw recently was I had a friend of mine who was supposed to attend a funeral, and he didn't go because there was so much dissension within the family on the political scale. But at the same time, he felt guilty. Like he didn't want to go and start something. He didn't want to not go because it was family. And those dilemmas, especially with Christmas coming, right? And the holiday season, are such, I mean, they can cause such mental stress, right? In a family.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just getting worse, right? We're certainly being influenced by our neighbors south of the border. And there's some really strong division happening in Canada as well, and certainly different opinions, right? So how do you deal with that, right? Like we can't choose our family, as they say. But, I think, some of us do feel guilty because we may avoid events that can be emotionally charged because of political point of views and dissension and different ways of thinking than you do. But the bottom line is you have to look at, do you really need to be there? Is it good for your mental health, right? And sometimes the answer is maybe not. Okay.
Mm.
It's really important to, keep to your values. And if you know that going to an event where everyone is really thinking oppositely in everything that you believe in, and it's just going to turn into a battle or get ugly, I think, that guilt really, needs to just kind of be set aside for your own mental health and what you feel comfortable with.
And I get that it's hard for people because those are decisions. I think I'm at the stage in my life where I kind of know who I am. And I think
Mhm.
that's the other part of this. Once you sort of understand who you are and you want to take care of yourself in those aspects, it changes a lot of the dynamic. It's easier to make those decisions. But as a
Mhm.
younger person, I could see how it would weigh on you
Yes.
not wanting to disappoint. But I think, like you said, I think it's critical. And I don't know, would you recommend like a checks and balances, sort of say, okay,
Yep.
here's the pros and the cons?
Absolutely, absolutely. Another thing that I recommend, because the holidays are coming up, and I recommend as well, and this has helped a lot of people, is set the ground rules from the get-go. If you really, really need to go somewhere and you need to be there, set the ground rules from the get-go. Look, I'm really looking forward to being with my family, but this is how it's going to be. No talk of politics, no
Yeah.
talk of this, no talk of that. Are we comfortable with this? Okay, let's eat. Or let's.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly it with the holidays. Let's eat for
right,
sure.
right.
And I think, I mean, I've always welcomed debate on issues because I think it's important to have
Oh, of
conversations.
course.
But I do think, again, it boils down, there's a time and a place for everything, right?
Right.
Like that's the other, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't really think about that. That's a
Yeah.
good aspect to sort of set the ground rules, folks, so that you're comfortable going into a situation as well.
Yes. Yes.
It's a little bit about respect too, isn't it?
Absolutely, right? Because I think then, like everyone's entitled to their opinion, pro and con, right? That's what makes us all different. But when people really start to impose and be disrespectful because you're not thinking the way that they think you should be thinking or sharing their point of view, then that is really disrespectful. And it's better to just not go there at all.
And that's maybe there's something in this where it needs to be the third party doesn't get to come to Christmas,
No,
right?
absolutely not.
Like you don't need that there because
Yeah,
it's a time to reflect and enjoy your family and be with the ones you love. And
absolutely.
yeah, you're totally right. I like that.
Yep.
I like that idea because it sets the course for the holidays for you, and
Mhm.
it allows you to be a little bit freer in your thinking too, as far as what you want.
Absolutely. No one should be able to change your point of view if this is intrinsically what you believe in. And, if people try to do that, then, that's really not what they need to be doing. And if they're so stuck in their opinions and point of views that they're not listening to you and it's turning into a battle, it's important to just not even engage at all. Yeah.
The other part that we should bring up on this too, because if you stress about a situation like constantly, it's going to bring up that anxiety, you know what I mean? And it could snowball into other things. So it's
Mhm.
important to sort of understand where you're at. I mean, why does it take, this is a different question. Why does it take so long for us to understand who we are?
Yeah.
Why do you think? Like, is
We
that
need
just
to
over
grow
time?
up. We need to
Oh,
grow up. Where I'm
oh,
at today,
grow up.
okay, like physically, we need to grow up, not emotionally, I guess. We can always think young. But yeah, I mean, maturity, right? Maturity, life experiences, everything that happens to us, good and bad, really helps to form us into what we are
Yeah.
when we become adults, right? When I was younger, I was really into the punk rock movement, right?
You were a
And I
punk
think there's
rocker?
still a little bit left.
Oh, we gotta go there. We gotta go there on a show.
There's a little bit
Were
left
you listening to
in
the
me.
Clash back there? Were you listening to
Yeah,
the
I,
Clash?
I
All
do,
right.
right? And so those little inklings were there, when I was in my 20s, right? And standing up to the man and just really
Green
believing in
Day?
what you
Were you
believe
listening
in
to
and not
Green
letting
Day?
other people tell you otherwise. So definitely life experiences, maturity, stuff that's happened that you didn't like or you do like, and that kind of molds you into
Yeah.
the human being that you are today. So
So were you a Green Day fan, or is that too late? I like Green Day. I go Green Day.
I
We're gonna
like
do a
Green
whole
Day.
we're gonna do a whole music show
Yeah,
on that.
it's all about dissension, standing up, advocacy, right? So the
Yeah.
themes are always there of what people are doing today, right? Yeah.
Another suggestion that worked for me years ago, and I didn't, you know how at the time you don't realize it's working for you, but
Hmm.
I had a couple of fellows that were way older than me that were really good mentors. And when I would go sit and have coffee or tea with
Hmm.
them, it was that grounding. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, I didn't think about it that way, or
Yeah.
or you're right. What's the rush? Or
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think that's one thing today's society should bring back.
Definitely, definitely. Those conversations around the dinner table also were very helpful. I mean, with my grandparents, with my parents, being immigrants and all that, they really knew what it was to come to a country and, really appreciate that standard of life. But the thing is, not everyone listens to old people anymore, right? And they should, because there is a wealth of wisdom there. We were talking about that one commercial that one time, which
Yes, we were. Yes,
maids
we were. I
or
forgot about it.
businesses or anything, right? I think that's probably what people think out there, that, you're older, what do you know of the world today? But we've been through it. We do
Well, the
know.
other aspect too is that, this taking on a conversation taking on a different light. But I mean, when
Hmm.
you're younger, if you don't have a father figure, which I
Yeah.
didn't, you tend to look for that.
Yeah.
And you're always trying to find someone that can ground you enough to sort of say,
Yes.
okay, well, look at, and the other part was with the fellows that I knew, and there was a couple ladies too. It wasn't so much what they, maybe the advice they offered, it was how I took the advice that they offered.
Hmm.
Right.
Yes.
And maybe it didn't fit right at that moment.
Right.
But then I would reflect on it down the road. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember
That
when
makes sense.
John said this to me. Yeah, this is why
Yeah.
this is where it should go. But
Exactly.
I think that's probably part of that aspect that society could use a lot more of. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't, you don't want some old fart like me telling you what to do. But maybe that experience that I had in this situation might save you that grief I had to live through.
Absolutely. And if we look to our indigenous culture as a model, they really revere their elders, right? And that's a
Yeah.
wonderful thing. Yeah,
Well, just that, they're called grandparents for a reason.
exactly.
Right. I often remember my great great grandfather as sort of that was a little bit of that mentor figure. And I just remember chatting with him, and I was great grandfather, wasn't great, great, great. It was great grandfather. And I just remember having conversations with him, and it was old style. Don't get me wrong, the conversation, but it
Right.
was always something. There was always a piece of wisdom in there that you were like, oh yeah, I didn't, the respect was there, and I think that's part of it too. You don't always have to listen to them,
Yeah,
but sitting in that environment and having that conversation and maybe understanding a little bit about where they're coming from probably makes a big difference when you're dealing with all these stressful situations we're in now.
absolutely. Absolutely, Dave.
Boy, we should do this one when it's Grandparents' Day or something, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
We never even thought. I didn't even think about this. Any other tips that you can offer for folks around the holiday
Well,
season?
I think, just enjoy being with each other and just leave the stuff at the door. All right.
Yeah,
It's really important, when you want to have a conversation and you want to, talk about stuff, sometimes current events, but stay away from these, red button issues if you
yeah.
can, because inevitably they'll turn into a battle and that'll ruin your holidays. So, set the ground rules. You can
The
talk
other thing
about
I
the
would
weather,
offer is,
what a
yeah,
beautiful autumn we're having, or no snow yet at Christmas.
I was just going to say the other thing maybe you could help us with too is offering an exit strategy,
Yeah,
because I think
yeah,
going into it, you need to know if at this time, if the booze is coming out,
yeah,
or if I mean, when it's time to actually say, okay, this has been fun.
yeah, exactly. And you'll know if things start to get uncomfortable, or if you're not a drinker and all of a sudden all the booze starts coming up. This is thank you. I had a lovely time. Dinner was delicious. We'll have to do this again sometime, again soon. But we have to get headed out now. Okay. No one's hurt. No one's feelings are hurt. You have your exit strategy. Yeah,
And if folks are stressed at the holidays, I mean, we always put your numbers at the end of the show, but they could call, can't they? If things
absolutely.
are a little bit intense and you
Yeah.
need someone to talk to, a different
Yes.
voice.
Holidays are not fun for everyone, that's for sure, right?
No.
Can be triggering, bad memories. There's crisis lines as well.
Yep.
Even Suicide Prevention Canada has a 988 call, and they're all trained professionals. And sometimes you just need someone to listen, and that's what they're there for.
Cool. It's a great show. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Next month, punk rock
Yeah,
101 with
sounds like a
Ruby
plan.
Lill. We may get a few new listeners that we didn't expect, right?
There you go.
Thanks for doing this, Lil. Take care.
Thank you, Dave.